The opinions expressed on the following audio program are solely those of the host and the guests. Burner Podcast is an independently produced, not-for-profit show and is not associated with the Burning Man organization or its subsidiaries. The views expressed are not representative of the entire Burning Man community and are presented here for entertainment purposes only. In short, calm the fuck down. It's just a podcast.
All right, it's episode number 107, and it is 330 days till the man burns as of this recording. Hey, did you all see 2020's theme? It's multiverse. Burning Man 2020 multiverse. I guess this explains why BM.org wanted that 100,000 person permit. I knew it. That joke makes sense, I swear. Longtime listeners might have noticed the more sporadic release schedule of this show in the past year. I've talked about it a couple of times, I know. But I also know that you've noticed because we get mildly panicky emails through the website asking, and through our Facebook as well, asking if like the show has ended. Which I'm not going to lie to you, I do kind of fucking love. Yes, we used to be super duper militant about getting the show out on the first and third Wednesday of each month for a few reasons. One of which was that I wanted to set like a really good example as a leader. When Burner Podcast began, there were no other regular Burning Man related podcasts. There were a few attempts, but no one like stuck to it. So as multiple others have popped up, multiple of which I had some kind of hand in, I really wanted to set the standard so that at the very least, the people in my immediate digital village would see that I'm treating this like any other paid gig. Because I've seen how easily podcasts fall off. And like with our spinoff show, Alkaline, I was giving them free reign, more or less, to do whatever they wanted. I'd mostly just step in and bitch if I don't know, one of the bookings didn't feel quite right. Like if it's a DJ that we're showcasing, if it was somebody who'd been to like one regional, I don't know, 5 years ago. I mean, I felt like, come on, we can do a little bit better than that. So there's some more, there was some more parenting involved, like in the very beginning, but after like a year or so, I'd mostly fully stepped away of active production, and just was just kind of there to like opine from time to time. But the one thing everybody knew was that I'd be pretty irritated if the shows weren't coming out on schedule, like our show, their show, things that we had scheduled. Anyway, flash forward a few years, and I haven't gotten this show out on quote unquote schedule for a few months now, which I wasn't super happy about. I won't lie to you. But my standards for the product that we're putting out there have really increased, my personal standards. And what that's led to is that I now see every one of these episodes as a standalone kind of work of art creation. Whereas in the past, I just saw them as another episode, another deadline. Producer Louie and I have multiple exchanges and phone meetings about the DJ sets. I take multiple stabs at this intro that you're hearing right now, and I just kind of refuse to force it in the way that I used to. I wait for the inspiration so I can enjoy the experience more, and I hope it shows. No pun intended. I hope you're listening to the episodes of this past year and thinking that it was worth the extra wait to get something that was a little bit higher quality. And on a personal level, I'm just more aware that there are more eyes and ears on us than there ever have been, and I want to represent our community well. One landmark guest I'd have to credit for this shift is Alphabet Club nonprofit founder Troy Swanson from episode 68. For my intro on that episode, I told this story that had a beautiful ending, but could definitely come off as a bit extra crass to the uninitiated, to the non-veteran fuck your burn kind of burner. And I remember distinctly that I was recording that intro and I was feeling off about it, but I was like powering through it anyway. And there was this immature kind of rebellious feeling motivating me. I had thoughts of like, fuck that. No one's going to tell me what I can do, what I can and can't say on the air. Fuck your censorship. And after publishing it, Troy pinged me and shared with me that he couldn't be happier with the interview and loved the show, but the extra crass story in the intro could be a little bit off-putting to non-burners. And he asked me if it would be possible to make a slight edit and remove that little tidbit. And I immediately agreed because I was feeling it and I was fighting my own intuition about it. And removing that story did not by any stretch of the imagination misrepresent our culture or the show. I mean, hell, you're hearing all the F-bombs I'm dropping. So anyway, I made the edit. That episode of Burner Podcast ended up becoming a very important part of Troy's storytelling. It was featured at the European Leadership Summit. He sent it to potential donors, and he credits it very regularly and publicly as one of the primary reasons that he's been able to exponentially grow his donation base and event attendance both on and off Playa. So anyway, I guess the lesson that I've learned is that life design, like all design, really is most optimal when it is a dance between consistency and variation. So I've let go of the rigidity of the release schedule to some extent. I would like to get back to it, but I'm not going to force it either. And we have another show starting as part of our network soon, which I'm excited about sharing with you once it is ready to be public. Louis is working on some super cool stuff behind the scenes with this show, as well as music.bm, the Burning Man music archive, which he founded. So why am I telling you all this? Because I feel like maybe this is the perfect time to throw this out there. Are you into what we're doing? Do you want to help continue making these shows a reality? It is a labor of love, as you know, and we're living this Burning Man life year round. So there is a pretty long list of shit we could use help with. Perhaps you're a web designer and want to help with our website revamp, or you're interested in hosting me so I can travel to your region and get some interviews like Paul and Tamron did in Cape Town. And they helped me make the Africa Burn episodes a reality. Maybe you just have money you want to throw at us. Yeah, I'll take your money. Spend it on making more podcasts and paying for stuff. I mean, we're going to keep doing this anyway, but it would be really nice to have some funds to play with as well. Maybe you're just super into spreadsheeting and you're like or maybe you're a PR pro and you want to help bring a bigger audience to the show. We have labor to spread around for sure. We could use your help if you're interested in being part of the Burner Podcast family or to sponsor. Shoot us a message at burnerpodcast.com. I want to hear from you. If you've been kicking around starting a podcast of your own, I want to hear from you. I'm happy to help. I want to hear your ideas. I want to hear from you if you want to help and get involved. I want to hear your brain farts. I want to hear your criticisms, your show ideas. Come at me, brah. We're wide open here. But anyway, all of that was inspired by the fact that I am, in fact, flying out to New York City tomorrow. And I'll be recording, hopefully, 4 interviews during my time there. I'll be there for like a week. The interview that you're about to hear today on today's episode was the very last of the recordings from my San Francisco trip from last year. And so, of course, this was recorded before the burn. And the reason that it took the longest to release was because we kept kicking the post-production can down the road because there are like 8 voices talking over each other on this one, and it took some mixing and mastering. It's me in a room full of Irish folks, and you'll hear trains passing by because we're in the Sunset District in San Francisco, and I feel only mildly bad about stereotyping, but it's kind of what you would expect from getting a group of Irish folks together in a room and introducing a seemingly never-ending supply of beer into the equation. So we had to do a little bit more mixing on the audio. Today's interview is with the crew of Celtic Chaos. You'll be hearing the voices of Stephen, Billy, Natasha, Rob, Charlene, Anthony, and John. We'll get into the backstories of how this crew got to Burning Man to begin with. As always, some of the Irish cultural stuff that influences the culture of the camp as a whole. It's a really, really, really fun conversation. I really did have a blast recording it. Towards the end, we do chat a little bit about Ireland's regional burn, which it takes place in a fucking castle. How badass is that? And we talk a bunch about sound. Sound is a big thing because Celtic Chaos' sound system is pretty fucking nuts. They are one of the stops for the big DJs. I'm pretty sure. I feel like I've caught Carl Cox there twice. Maybe, I'm not sure. I did learn that Gorgon City's first ever DJ set at their first ever burn was this past year at Celtic Chaos, which leads me to the set that you'll be hearing after today's interview. By the way, we're only going to be playing about an hour and a half of it because the full set itself was 8 fucking hours. The artist you'll be hearing is N2N, and this set was recorded on multiple, it was recognized on multiple big rags, including Billboard Online as one of the best sets I've heard at Burning Man. I think it technically counts as a sunrise set. I don't know. It was 8 hours. N2N recorded this one, the one that you'll be hearing after today's conversation, at the Celtic Chaos camp on Wednesday morning of the 2019 burn. All right, let's get drinking. Let's get started. Today's episode is entitled Celtic Chaos. I go by Mr. Arash, even though nobody calls me Mr. Welcome to Burner Podcast.
On the first part of the journey, I was looking at all the life. There were plants and birds and rocks and things. There were sand and hills and rain. The first thing I met was a fly with a buzz and the sky with no clouds. The heat was hot and the ground was dry, but the air was full of sound. I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out of the rain. In the desert, you can't remember your name, 'cause there ain't no one for to give you no name.
Check real quick. Yeah, so whenever you're ready to talk, just check. Yeah. Feel free to grab the mic from each other and yell out things. If you need to, it's totally casual. So the way that I became familiar with Celtic Chaos was not this last burn, but the one before. My girlfriend at the time and I had come to San Francisco after the burn just to like hang out and decompress and party a little bit, and because there wasn't enough partying on Playa apparently, and we ended up at I don't remember the name of the bar, but it was a Groovewell night. They're playing a lot of funk music, and
Monarch, I would say.
Maybe Monarch. Okay, yeah, it was one guy whose name I don't remember started to chat with us, and he's like, "You guys look like you just came from Burning Man." We're like, "How can you tell? We're dressed up like He's like, "I can tell," and then he starts to tell the story of your camp. And it's funny because he's basically saying that every year, like, you'd come back with more people from this small town in Ireland. And then that exact thing began to happen at the bar. Like every couple of minutes, 3 more Irish folks would walk in. And before we know it, they just completely had taken over the bar.
The spot.
Yeah. And before we know it, we're sitting in like at a table and surrounded on all sides by Irish folks, and we're like, all right, I need this fucking story. I need this for the show. So we tried to connect a little bit over the next couple of days, and it didn't come together. But then flash forward a couple of years, and I'm sitting there at lunch with our friend Siobhan and Anthony, and I'm just sitting there, we're eating, and then we're talking about Burning Man, and then I don't know how Celtic Chaos comes up, and he's like, oh yeah, it's my camp. I'm like, what the fuck? It's been like 2 years that I've been like trying to organize this thing to happen, and you're sitting there at lunch with me by coincidence in San Diego of all places. So that's when it became. You know what? People always say that. Yeah. So anyway, here we are, and I want to get like the whole backstory of your camp. So I want to do this. Go through. I want to have everybody introduce yourselves, so that the listeners can associate a name with a voice. I don't know. Usually I try to come up with something off the top of my head. Your favorite place in San Francisco to grab a pint? You can start.
Okay. I have many places. Well, first of all, I'm Steve Crow, one of the leads in Celtic Chaos, but we're surrounded by Irish bars. So there's one, there's several up the street, within walking distance, I'll pass you on to the next guy.
I'm Rob Lane, and Just trying to think. Probably Tornado. It's one of the only bars that can drink a whole bunch of the beers there. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we have one of those in San Diego. Yeah.
nice.
I'm John Walsh. I suppose I'll have to give a shout out to the Napper Tandy.
Yeah, you took mine.
Or any other pub that's open, I suppose.
I'm Sharky, and Nabertani would be my favorite just because I have a lot of friends that work there. But maybe Scarlet Lounge, where my friend owns.
Hi, I'm Natasha. I'm one of the co-founders of Celtic Chaos, and yeah, we're surrounded by Irish bars, especially in the Sunset District. One of my favourites is a cosy little bar in Irving Street called Dirty Nelly's. It has a really big fireplace that's always got a warm fire, good Irish food and pints, and it's got that real intimate charm that makes it kind of fun place to hang out and meet up with friends.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Anthony, and yeah, any kind of bar that serves sake or any sort of alcohol that's off the charts, basically, that's kind of what I go for. Yeah, and your standard Irish bars, of course, that's where we end up most of the time. Yeah, and the Napper Tandy, of course, that seems to be the go-to chaos bar, basically, where we go to after all our events and before our events and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Very good. What was the name of that bar?
The Napper Tandy.
It's also a
Yeah.
meetup
Mission.
point when people come into town right before the burn and after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay. So I guess let's jump back to the beginning. Obviously, we're all in San Francisco, but obviously you're all from Ireland. Except okay, Token is the play name.
No, she's a token American.
The Token. Okay, let's say
And
that'd be
she
a good
looks
one.
the most Irish out of all of them. All of us are just like
No, I'm actually very local too. I grew up in Marin, so.
Oh, very cool. Let's go back to the first year. What was the first year that Celtic Chaos had a presence on the playa?
It would have been 2013.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we were, from previous other camps, and we just came home and we said, we all got together and said, let's do our own camp. And so a bunch of us got together, we formed and branded in 2012, and we worked our butts off to the summer in 2013, and the first year to rock out as the castle was 2013, August 2013, for our first burn, and it was pretty cool. Just the structure, the size of the structure, the build, the everything that goes along with the build. It was so big from what we had previously done in other various places, other various camps.
Who was here that's in this room right now that year? Mostly, okay, there's some hands up for the listeners who can't see. But thank you.
There was I think there was about 5 of us that started Celtic Chaos over pints of Guinness and chicken wings in the Outer Sunset.
Mm-hmm.
We spent about 3 hours brainstorming to come up with the name, and we were stuck at Dusty Spuds. And there was a few hands that were in support of Dusty Spuds, and I'm sorry, but I just could not get behind it.
I'm happy you didn't, because enough camps with the name Dust in the beginning.
Yeah, we were nearly Celtic Zoo. We were nearly...
Malcolm came up with zoo, and we had to find a different word for zoo.
Yeah, I wasn't happy with zoo because of the petting zoo. Yeah.
We are human.
We were almost emeralds in the dust, 50 Shades of Green. And finally, we came to Celtic Chaos, and we thought that just sums us up perfectly. And the first year as well, what was kind of special about the first year is we just kicked off. We decided go big or go home. So first year, 70-foot by 70-foot Irish castle, complete with drawbridge, turrets, fully stocked bar. We gifted out, I don't know how many whiskey shots, too many to count. Yeah, we like Takata for some reason.
A lot of emphasis in our bar, so we probably had $20,000 in alcohol, liquor, and for the most part, we've always been a bar. And then we put our energy in other areas, and with the music and setting up a sound system and stuff like that. But a bar is what we're always about, and it's in our tradition and in our in our blood.
Yeah.
We're all
DNA.
functioning alcoholics.
I'd like to learn more about the Tecate. Why? How did that become the favorite beer?
Why Tecate?
Why Tecate?
Because the cheapest beer that you can find.
Actually, how much is it? When you buy it by like the case, it's like 59 cents a can or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
The pallet. Sorry, the pallet. So it just became like, if we're gonna give out beer, and we've learned when the first year we were actually giving out the cans that caused moop. Now we just pour it into someone's cup to make sure that like at least we recycle it. And this year, or last year I should say, 2008, we were the first year that we actually got people to like bring it over to recycling and got rid of like loads of our cans without having to bring it back. So
I'm gonna pre-apologize for any stereotypes that I might reinforce, but I have to ask: isn't there's a certain amount of pride in having like Irish beer?
Yeah, but if you tried to get a Guinness out there and you didn't do it right, you would be like probably killed. On
The myth is that every Irish guy was born with a bottle of whiskey in one hand and a Guinness in the other. I for one am not a big Guinness fan, but we brought up previous years before. We brought the can Guinness, the widget can Guinness, and we found that it's not a beer that everyone, it's an acquired taste. So it's super expensive, really nice beer if you like it. But we found it was wasteful on people that were getting a free beer and then spitting it out. Like, what is this? First time to have Guinness, and maybe
I think Guinness is perfect. Like at home, it's raining outside, you're in a cozy bar, and you have a lovely creamy pint of Guinness in your hand. Yeah. In the playa, it's roasting hot. You're dying of thirst. You're probably not going to think that you want a Guinness. Maybe a cold pint of Magners Irish cider with loads of ice. That's probably more the ticket.
Do you want to just tell your listeners that Anthony just brought in Heineken?
Yeah, Heineken. Fair enough. Important. Is that, no, he's also drinking, what is that? Sparkly, truly, what is that?
Course, yeah.
Sparkling water.
He's got some hipster gluten-free beer thing.
Guinness drinker.
We're all about breaking stereotypes here.
But we do like cider, and we've been trying to find a way to bring like a canned version of a cider. We were trying to get some just because obviously glass bottles of cider is harder to get rid of and dangerous on the playa, but cider is the best thing actually you could get probably on a hot day on the playa.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. So 2013 was sort of officially the first year, but prior to that, how many years had you been attending the Burn?
Everyone was different, I've been going since I've been going since probably 2009, and everyone was slightly different. We weren't all together. We actually didn't know, all of us like here tonight probably didn't know each other in 2010, 2011.
I want to know about that time period. So 2010-ish, there's some folks that are starting to come out to Burning Man. Can you tell me about what that first experience was like? I want to know about that. Tell me about the town you're from.
The town I'm from?
Yeah.
I was about to go.
Town I know so well.
Yeah. Oh shit, there's only an hour and a half podcast. Right? It's a small little village in County Westmeath, which is between Dublin and Galway, right bang in the middle, and just a small little village. I grew up very, very cute and quaint, and but our claim to fame was like we have a distillery, the oldest Irish distillery in Europe. Would have been there.
Braveheart was filmed around there.
And so the oldest Irish whiskey distillery was there in my village, but. Yeah, I didn't know about Burning Man then.
Yeah.
So,
how did you find out about it?
I came to California in 2006 or 7, and I'd lived prior to that on the East Coast in New York. But I moved out here, and a friend of mine once said to me one evening in the bar, "Hey, did you ever hear about Burning Man? And I was like, isn't that very taboo? A bunch of hippies howling at the moon, taking drugs and going around half naked." And he goes, "Yeah." So he said we should go and check it out for ourselves, and we were like, okay, let's not tell anyone we're going, and we go up there, and I think I was pleasantly surprised that the art blew me away, the people, the creativity, and so I went my first year, and I was just blown away, and I met people out there.
Right.
One of the guys is not here, Billy. He's been our transport manager and just all around lead. And
what year was that? You said your first one?
I think it was around 2009, 2010. Yeah.
Where I want to know where everybody else here was 2009, 2010. Where in your life?
Burning Man. Well,
Mike.
I was at Burning Man. This will actually be my 16th year going.
All right.
So, but I actually met her in 2010 at Burning Man. She kind of
Made an impression.
rocked into my camp one day and went to a party with me over at District, which it was called District then, yeah. But I think everyone was starting to go around that time. A lot of them that I had met, but I met her in 2010.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I flew out from Ireland actually for that first Celtic Chaos burn in 2013.
2010?
No, 2013, the first year of Celtic Chaos.
Where were you in 2010? Still back home?
I was living in Hawaii actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was unexpected.
Yeah. Very similar to Ireland. Pretty much the same. Yeah.
What had taken you out there?
I was working out there, and then I went back to Ireland in 2011 for a couple of years, and then 2013 I got a call from a very good friend of mine from Ireland, Fergal MacDonald, who
did our electricity.
He had been living out here, and he had friends with all the guys here. He had been going to the burn for several years, and he had volunteered to do all the electrical work.
Mm.
And so he just calls me up and he goes, Burning Man, I think you should come out. I think you'd like it.
And I need help.
And I need a bit of help. And I was like, right, okay. And he's like, yeah, just get a flight to San Francisco, and have a couple of weeks. Make sure you got a few weeks, and just get a flight to San Francisco. You need to give me a hand for a few days beforehand to prep some stuff, and we're going to do a bit of electrical work. And I was like, yeah, that sounds fun. So got on a plane, come over here, and I've pretty much been here since.
Yeah.
Because of that. And then Fergal brought me up, and he hadn't told me anything. I had looked a few things online, I didn't know much, but then we went up, we did all the electrical work, and it was incredible. I was like, holy shit, these guys have got like this crazy kind of community of people who...
You were doing the electrical work in 2010?
No, 2013.
13, okay. That was the first time.
Chaos,
okay.
like the castle, you know.
Gotcha.
And
How it was lit up in green.
it was all like green LEDs, and obviously it was the first time that the castle had been built, so we just kind of winged it and put it together, and the three of us headed up from the city here. Bertie, our friend of ours, who's unfortunately no longer with us, but the three of us went up and wired up the castle, and then I was like, all right, that's it, I'm hooked. So I went back to Ireland, and then about 9 months later I was back out here, and I've been here since.
Yeah, drew you out. He has a mic.
2010, I was actually living in Sydney. I had just about left Ireland after the whole financial crisis and recession, so spent a bit of time in Sydney that year, and I think at that point in time I hadn't been to San Francisco, or I didn't know much about Burning Man, so it was a few years down the track before I was back in Ireland at Christmas time with a friend of mine, and we started trawling through YouTube videos about Burning Man, and he said to me, will you go? And I said, absolutely, if you'll go, and forgot about it until a few weeks later, and this was, I think, February, March, and this is a year after all this, in 2014 was when I got involved, or came for the first time, and a friend of mine texted me and he said, we got the tickets, and I said, tickets for what? I had completely forgotten, because it was about 4 a.m. when we discussed going, and
as many of the best discussions are had.
Yeah, and long story short, he got the tickets, and I said, sweet, and I flew, because I was still living in Australia at that point in time, So I flew over from Australia, met my friend who flew over from Cork in Ireland, and we headed on. That was the first time I suppose, met all the Celtic Chaos crew, and that was 2014.
Yeah. 2014. 2009, 2010, where were you?
2010 was my first year on Playa, and I went kind of by accident. I had a friend who lives in Tahoe that was going with a camp, and she fell out with the camp lead, who then disinvited her, and she'd been really, really looking forward to going to Burning Man and had shown me her ticket. And then she was pretty excited the fact that you could die possibly at the event. You know, she was showing me the disclaimer. But anyway, she was left with no one to camp with and no one to go to the event with. And
because everybody's so unfriendly out there.
Exactly. So she didn't know what to do, and I said to her, "I'll go with you. I think I know some Irish people that go to that thing in the desert." So I rocked up with absolutely no idea. I actually thought I was kind of going to, like the Middle East where there's like sand, camels, desert. That's kind of what I thought I was picturing in my mind. So like if you're going to the beach and there's sand, you wear sandals obviously. So I packed kind of for the beach, not the playa. And I have to tell this story because it's kind of funny. So much playa dust, and I got such bad playa foot that my toenail actually came off my first year.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I was a clueless virgin burner, and I actually got separated from my friends the very first day cycling across Playa, and I kind of looked off in the distance and I could see an Irish flag, so I just decided I'm going to cycle towards the Irish flag and see what I find at there. I think I found the Dusty Swan, which is a really cool small little Irish pub that they've been going to Burning Man for quite some time now. And then I ran into Sharky and her gang. There were another bunch of Irish people. So I found my way, and they looked after me, and I had an amazing time. And the second year returned with another larger group of Irish people that had a bar called Shamrock City. And then from that, a couple of years down the line, all of us got together and decided, let's do something really big. It's a camp that's different. It's not just an Irish bar, but a camp that welcomes everyone, because that's very much in our DNA as Irish people. We're a country of migrants, so all of us have come from different ends of the country, and we've been welcomed to San Francisco. So we kind of very much bring that vibe to our camp. Everyone is welcome. There's no entry required to be part of the Celtic Chaos community. This past weekend I was at the Theme Camp Symposium, and I heard a lot of mention of, in order to get into a camp, you need a sponsor, you need to be invited, you need to be acculturated. And we're quite different in the fact that the door's always open. We just welcome everybody. Our roots are Irish, but everyone is welcome regardless. If you are crazy enough to want to camp with us, if the idea of camping with 200 raucous, boisterous Irish people tickles your fancy, then that makes you kind of fit the bill.
I might just add, so over the years, we might be Celtic Chaos, the Irish camp, but our roots and our family here, home base here in San Francisco, our family in Australia, we call them the reoffenders that'll just keep coming back year after year. They're like ourselves, except maybe emigrated to Australia. But we're made up, but they're Australian friends, our British friends. We have had people from Morocco. Last year we had 6 or 7 French people stay with us, and
more than that.
And yeah, there was we had
a French. We had like a little French quarter.
And actually, there's a funny story there. I might just do it. Do you remember the guy Will from France? We were just while we're on the French thing. So we were doing our build in our friend's yard in Brisbane here, near the Cow Palace. And so every other Saturday, we have a work party to go down and start building and painting and do what we got to do to get ready for the burn. And so everyone's a volunteer, So this kid comes down and he's working in the IT industry, but he's from France, and he wanted to get together with a camp and found us, and he'd come to a couple of the build parties and was helping out a lot. And then we're packing the trailer, we're locking the container doors and all this stuff. We're all getting excited, getting ready to embark, and the build crew is about to set off. And then this kid goes, so what part of the castle am I staying in? We fucking looked at him like, what the fuck? It's only 4 walls, but I couldn't just let that go. I just said to him, I'm gonna say you're upstairs, you're gonna be on the west wing, and so he really thought that, and we left him for like 10 minutes, and then we're like, fuck it, we gotta tell this dude, get a fucking tent, get a sleeping bag. You're not actually staying in a physical castle. So, but
That's great.
It happened.
I had it just kind of reminded me, like a couple of years ago, we were standing there talking next to, I think, like Rat Trap for the Masses, and some guy bicycled up to us. He had some sort of a European accent I couldn't place. But he's like, do you know where the main camps are? And my friends and I kind of stared at him like, what do you mean main camps? Like, the main camps where the camping is. Do you know where they are? I'm like, are we being fucked with right now? And we went back and forth, and it became obvious that he was under the impression that all of Burning Man was like set up as entertainment, and where he was camping was the actual campsite for the visitors. Which I love those kind of experiences.
I had someone give me $20 at the bar this year. Well, try to give me. I didn't take it. $20 at the bar this year.
Good cover.
For his drink, and I was like, "No, it's free." And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "I don't know where you thought you were, but yes, drinks are free."
Could you imagine how many other bars?
That was when what?
Could you imagine how many other bars he's been giving money, and they're like, "We're gonna take his sure, fuck him, let's fuck with him a little bit." I have a bunch of notes here that I want to review here. I want to talk about the enculturation aspect, but I want to come back to that real quick. First, I want to know where you were 2009, 2010.
2009, 2010, I was actually in Brisbane, Australia.
Okay.
And
none of you were in Ireland, basically.
No, nobody was. No.
Okay.
Yeah, shortly afterwards, decided to come to California for a 10-day holiday, which turned into 3 months in San Diego, which turned into 7 years later. I'm still here. I decided in 2013 to go to Burning Man for the first time, but I actually wasn't with Celtic Chaos. I had known a couple of guys from around the city and stuff, but I wasn't camping with them. I was camping elsewhere with just a group of locals. Application denied that year. So yeah, went over. Definitely, I partied over there, and I was a bit overwhelmed. I was like, just the lights and the music and everything, and I didn't really know anybody that time. I was like, all right, yeah, this is cool, but kind of came back, and then came back to the city afterwards, and I was hooked on the Burning Man vibe. Then I'd heard about it years ago, but I'd never been or anything. I'd went with the group just by chance and met the Celtic Chaos crew and seen what they had, and I seen what Burning Man had to offer, and I was like, right, I'm on board for this. Yeah. So that was the start of me. 2013, 2014, I camped with Chaos and have been since, really. Yeah. Took a couple of years off, but I'm back now again this year. So back with a vengeance.
I'm curious. This is interesting because it's funny to hear like different stories from different people about how a thing comes together. And that's kind of like what we try to do with this show is like get to the core, like the founder levels, and kind of people can tell the history of it so we can get like a definitive story behind where it came from. But the original story that I just was kind of told to me that there was a lot of folks coming from one specific small Irish town.
Galway, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
We do. We have a big influence, like Dahi and the Galway crew, basically. There's a lot of younger generation that are kind of coming up. So the main core that's here tonight, a lot of them were here for the original, the start. And then we started to get bigger and bigger. And I guess the 4th of July really was kind of the first time that Dahi and them kind of jumped on board, and they sort of realized what the sort of community we had and everything. They were like, God, yeah, this is cool. So yeah, there was basically we did a 4th of July camp out, and I think there was maybe 10-15 Galway lads there.
Where?
That was in Mendocino. We were trying to raise funds and all that kind of stuff for the camp. So.
Microphone.
One of our members he has family owns that property up there, so we were lucky enough to get to have a camp out there.
Nice, very nice.
And we did one last year too. Yeah. Yeah.
This could totally be a question that falls completely flat, but a few years ago, one thing led to another, and I found myself at a Catholic retreat. The person leading it was Father David, and he was telling us a story about growing up in Ireland and how a lot of folks in his generation were moving to other parts of the world and it became like a running joke that I don't know, it was a stand said like Ireland's greatest export is its youth. Yeah. Can you talk about that a little bit? Yeah. What was the story behind that? How did all of you end up in so many different places?
Well, Ireland, we have been a country of migrants for a very, very long time, dating back to the potato famine. Most of us, I think, have left around the time of the recession, around 2008, 2009. Looking at Rob here, he went to Australia. I went to San Francisco directly. Anthony went to Australia. You know, there wasn't a lot of opportunity at home. A lot of us were recent grads out of college, and we were looking for jobs and looking for something newer, something more exciting. So it's in our blood and it's in our DNA to travel. There's Irish people all over the world, and that's kind of what makes our camp successful as well. We are the base here in San Francisco that execute it, and then we allow for our international community of Irish burners and many other different nationalities to come and find a safe space, a fun space, and and they say we're good crack as well.
Yeah, the sense of adventure, I think, is definitely something that it's an observation that a lot of us have who are not Irish, of the Irish. And a lot of times it feels like when some Irish folks like discover like a cool new corner of the world, all of a sudden like a bunch more show up. Yeah, who experienced that?
Their friends and
Mike.
They tell their friends who tell their cousins who tell everybody. But that's the kind of good thing about Celtic Chaos is, our door is open, and it's unlike most camps that I think there's a really fun vibe because our cross section is from about 30 to 40 age gap, and so we have this young generation and the middle generation in the 30s, and then there's some of us in their 40s that but it's such a fun vibe and a community within our camp that I think anyone that's come and hung out at our camp long enough realizes that, and if they've never hung out with us, look out 2019 for us. We'll be doing it all again.
Can you we have a late edition.
Yeah, just Billy
walked
Vaughn,
in.
big round of applause for Billy.
Yeah, I think this guy deserves an introduction.
Yeah. Who just walked in?
Billy Vaughn is, probably one of the most pivotal people in Celtic Chaos, and he's really not going to like me telling you this. You're on your 18th burn, Billy?
Yeah.
18th? This will be number 19 coming up. Yeah. He has been a pivotal point a pivotal person in the Burning Man community. He's transported art cars, theme camps, and has helped so many camps over the years, and he was a crucial part of us being able to execute Celtic Chaos. We've used his yard in San Francisco for building, and he makes sure that all of our infrastructure gets to the playa and problem solves every year, and believe me, there's lots of problems.
There really wouldn't be a Celtic Chaos without a Billy Vaughn, really.
Oh, look at that. Standing ovation.
That now, I'm sure you'd manage it somehow.
No pressure.
No. What do you want to know? Like, it's...
Yeah. Where were you in about 2009, 2010?
I think we were Paddy Mirage that time. We're building an Irish bar. We built an Irish bar. Yeah, 2009 we went back up again.
Closer to your mouth. No, closer to your mouth.
All right. 2009 we went back up and done Paddy Mirage. I originally done Paddy Mirage back in 03. And what we do? Yeah, we built just a simple Irish bar. Put on music. We done live music one year with bands and stuff like that. And I just got bigger. We built something bigger every year, and then we might miss a year or so. So, yeah, we did. Then 2009, 10, was it?
2011 was Shamrock City.
That was Shamrock City 11.
You want to just aim it like that. There you go.
Okay, perfect. Right. Yeah, we went up and we done, 3 years of between Paddy Mirage and Shamrock City. Then we took a break, and what was it, 2013? Then we Celtic Chaos came together and we built a castle. Yeah. Simple as that. And
it was
What's in the castle?
It was okay, Billy. What are we gonna do? Well, I've always wanted a castle of my own. So we're like, okay, so we're a bunch of carpenters. A lot of us are in construction, and so we built Billy a castle. You know, and the castle was so good that we rocked it out there for a couple of years, 3 or 4 years.
I kind of thought it would frighten you first when I mentioned the castle, so I kind of thought, it's not going to happen. But
we've had fun times. We've kind of evolved a little and got rid of the castle walls, and we've done smaller. Just because the work that goes into it, there's a lot more work, and we just found our carbon footprint after the burn. You know, even our moot footprint after a big wooden structure like that was just a lot. You know, people staying behind on, up until the Thursday trying to do clean up. You know, so.
But it's good to change up, like something different.
We've tried to change for the last couple of years and evolve in how our stage has looked and redesign it and just redesign. Give the people something to look forward to. Like, where the hell is Celtic Chaos this year? We didn't have the signature peeps. With the bright neon green, and so we change it up every year. But we're always surprised that people want to come back, camp with us, and party with us. So they find out where we are soon enough.
Oh yeah, people. You'll have new people every year, and they'll find their own little thing, and every year you're remembered by a whole new bunch of people because of something else you've done or something else you've changed up, And then, like it's often been said to me, like, then they'd realise we were the castle that year before, or we were something else, or they don't. So yeah. And
you've
just keep getting them back.
There's a couple of people come up and they're like, "Where's the castle?" Look at
Yeah.
the castle, but you have to change it up.
Oh yeah, of course. No. There's no
We were
point.
getting sick of it, and it was getting pretty knackered anyway.
Yeah. It was time for it to be put away. All right.
Yeah, it was kind of on its last.
Time for the fire. Then it was.
And it's no fun putting up a semi truck full of scaffolding, in the heat and taking it down and all that sort of stuff. So.
Yeah,
we went for a different layout.
I mean, most of what we do out there is, borderline insanity.
Oh, it is definitely. Yeah, it is crazy, some of the stuff.
There's always in the middle of a build. I'm standing somewhere holding a thing up, and I'm hanging on a thing, and I'm very much safety third is happening, and I'm like, what the fucking hell am I doing right now? Why am? But it all becomes worth it afterwards.
Yeah, because like 06, we built a 2-story house up there.
Uh-huh.
It literally was a 2-story house we built. Put a bar inside, and everything that we built it from was pulled out of skips here in San Francisco.
Yeah.
We put literally everything out of skips, and to build that, if you see that thing the way it was nailed together, mother of. Yeah. Why you stood up there? I don't know. I shouldn't have.
Just to say something about what Billy does is this last year at Burning Man, about 8 o'clock before the man was burned, the Christina, the art car that everyone knows that looks like the yacht, but ran out of gas. And they ran over and they were like, "Do you guys have gas?" And Billy rode over and filled up their art cars so they could make it out for the burn. And so he just does stuff like that.
Oh.
This is all about. This is all about up there, to help each other.
Billy definitely takes
No
gift
point in
into
thinking.
another level, and you can hear him talk. He has been involved in so many earlier incarnations of Celtic Chaos. There's always been Irish people on the playa, and he's always been one of them.
How many people were there in the camp in 2014?
We've always been around 200.
Around 200, yeah.
This is the problem is, we can't say no to anybody.
We literally have people rock up on the day of.
Yeah, it's really, really hard. You get stories, I was in a hostel in Thailand and met this fella from Cork and he said that you have to camp with Celtic Chaos. We just find it really hard to say no.
It's hard to turn them away from the door.
Yeah.
Oh, it is definitely, It's a big deal.
Yeah,
But also, it's like we get a lot of the same people come back every year, and they're the ones they're coming from Australia, they're coming from Europe, they're coming from Ireland, and you can't once they're in once, that's it, they're locked in, and we can't say no. So we tried, was it 2 years ago? We were like, right, we're gonna downsize a bit, or stick to 150 or something like that, and
you know, I don't.
No,
we
it's
weren't
impossible,
really.
yeah.
We weren't really fooling anyone. I think.
Yeah.
Kind of a plan.
No, it always
Because
comes
it's
in around
like-
that 200
Yeah.
every time, no matter how we go about it.
There's always a few new people that come, but then there's always.
a year off, we had 90 people.
Yeah.
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 We took a year off one year, we still had 90 people. So it just shows you the kind of vibe we have, you know. It's just like people are still, they knew that we weren't going to be there as Celtic Chaos, but they're like, well, where are you guys camping anyways? We
And
still
they
want to
still
camp with
found
you.
us,
Yeah. But yeah, I think it says a lot about the kind of sense of community and the way that we do things. You know, you hear, I've always, as people I know, buddies of mine go to stay with various camps and stuff, and there's always like horror stories you hear coming up. You know, everyone that comes to Celtic Chaos is kind of joins the community. They all row in. There's no egos. There's no like, there's no bullshit or entitlement or you know, nobody is better than anyone else. Like, you know, the people sitting around here, we pull our weight and do the same shit that everyone else does. We, you know, pay our camp dues and do the whole 9 yards. It's not like a
Work hard, play harder kind of thing.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
it, really. Yeah.
Everyone that
Yeah, and
goes-
everybody looks after themselves. So.
Yeah, and everyone that comes, like, we've got these, like, this crew that come over that live in Australia and stuff, and there's always a bunch of Aussies that come, and then there's always the Irish that live over there, and, you know, they come over on their vacation, and they'll come for the build, like, Gary Burke and the lads come over, and they're, like, you know, swinging pickaxes for a week in the dust, you know what I mean? And
that's a holiday,
their holiday. And not only have they, like, flown, you know, halfway around the world, but, you know, they fly over, and then they, like, do all the toughest work on the build. You know, they're trenching out cables and doing no question, yeah. And like, you know, they're just, I don't know, they're just sadists or something. They keep coming back for punishment.
Well, you're basically describing burners in general, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Sadists.
So I guess my point is it's very difficult to downsize the community because no matter, you know, what we do, we can't get rid of the people.
Sure, a great crack, you know.
Been trying. Yeah, I had a class when I was in college at San Diego State called Intercultural Tourism, and it was a lot about studying different cultures and how tourism affects it. It was a sociology class, and there was this one study that we were reading about that always stood out in my mind, where there was like a scale where the particular sociologist who were studying it was putting the study together, looked at where cultures fall on the scale of xenophobia, and marked like the entire world, sort of like where it's a harder time to break into sort of a person's culture, where you're seen as one of them, et cetera, where they still consider you a stranger. And one of the markers that they used, for example, was how soon people are likely to invite you to dinner at their home, which is like, you're invited, you're a part of us, you're a part of this community. I don't know where that study's at now. This was years ago. But at the time, the conclusion was that the Irish were the least xenophobic people in the world. You're most likely to be invited to dinner at home.
You'll be invited to tea like within like an hour if you go. You'll be invited to tea within like a couple hours if you meet them in the pub. Like, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, there's like and I always felt like it's a very kind of, it almost seems like the Irish culture is almost overlapped with like burner culture. It was a very easy fit.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, it's easy to fall into it.
Yeah.
It's easy to get into it.
Yeah. Did you want to speak? Yeah, he wants to speak.
No, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, with Irish, it's very easy. Very easy to get into it. Like, and everything is. We don't see a problem with anyone or whatever. You know, you just you want to come up and party with us, and you come. You know, that's simple as that. Like, this is where we're going. This is where we're going to be, and.
So that actually works out. It segues back to the enculturation thing that we were talking about earlier. Because I've spoken with multiple other camps. I can tell you, for example, recently I sat down with the Orgy Dome folks, and we were discussing.
How did that podcast go?
Yeah.
That had to be fun, all right.
It was over far too soon. No, it was a lot of it was about consent culture. I mean, that's what they're really focused on, and so like when we went through this hour and a half long conversation with them, it made a lot of sense that they spend a lot of time focused on making sure people are enculturated correctly to learn about consent culture. And you're right, though. I have actually spoken with other camps where like they do have a rigid process of like how you join the camp. Then you have other camps like yours that are like, come on in, here's a beer. Yeah. And I don't know. I guess my question was sort of like what your thoughts are on the best way to approach that. Does your camp? How does your camp deal with if you have difficulties? Do you have difficult camp members from time to time that you have to deal with? How do you deal with that as a camp?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, in terms of acculturation, yeah, we're quite different to how other camps do it. We allow for people to fuck up, and it does happen. But we do give you a chance to rectify what you've done. We will invite you back the second year, and we'll give you a second chance.
Yeah.
I think our acculturation is really a baptism of fire. A lot of people do come from Ireland and they really don't have a clue. And you've heard it around the room tonight. A lot of our first burns, we didn't really have an idea what we were getting ourselves into. We didn't have a solid knowledge base of Burning Man culture until we actually got there. And maybe it's Irish people. We learn through doing, we learn through seeing, we actually learn from being there. As a camp, we do communicate with our campers, through we have a communications campaign that goes out to people that sign up for us, that gives them the basics. I would say probably 50% of people probably don't read it. And their philosophy when they come on playa is, I'll be grand, sure, I'll be grand. Have you drank water? I'll be grand. Do you realise you're in a desert? I'll be grand. Have you, put stakes in your tent? There's going to be high winds. It's going to blow away. I'll be grand, sure. That's the Irish mentality.
I guess they are grand.
And they are grand. They do survive.
I mean, there's been a few that have had to go to the med tent to get rehydrated. By the way, that's probably the biggest issue we've ever had, and it's because not only they're not drinking water, but they are fair-skinned people.
We have to have a barrel of sunblock, 50-gallon barrel of sunblock before the kids go out to play. We lather them up. Okay, off you go.
Yeah, I would say what they're describing is the biggest issues we experience in the camp. Like I've been in conversations with a lot of theme camp leaders, and they are, the discussions are on consent, conflict resolution, and we're kind of lucky that doesn't happen too much in our camp. The Irish are more likely to beat the head of each other and be friends 5 minutes later, or they're just difficult stuff like that does not happen. Our biggest issues are people not looking after themselves and practicing self-care and staying hydrated. So we do have harm reduction kind of group as part of the camp. There are a bunch of nurses. Shout out to Vicky, Brooke, Evelyn and Ruth. And they keep an eye out for the young lads that are, we call them fresh off the boat, FOBs, fresh off the boat, and have maybe underestimated how much they can party and how much stamina that they have. So the girls kind of act like Irish mammies, and they keep an eye out for them and give them Gatorade and stuff like that. So that's probably our main problems. In terms of strike day, I want to tell a really bad story. 2017 on takedown day, I had a complete breakdown because a camp member left a 10-man tent still standing. Him and all his campmates basically took off. The tent was empty, but it was still staked to the ground, fully standing. Big army tent, canvas, pretty heavy structure.
We thought there was somebody in there.
We thought there was someone there, but he left the tent behind, which is just
to get his
incomprehensible. And not to mention a bucket of piss. So there are the moments where you're like, how can someone do that? And I was so angry. I know. And that's the initial thought that came into my mind was,
but he's still allowed in our camp.
She's getting to, she's telling you, break at the end of the story. So the point was, I remember being so furious, taking pictures of the tent, taking pictures of the bucket of piss, and I wanted to go on social media and I wanted to shame him. I wanted to just tell him what I thought and how much he had hurt me and hurt all of us, because we provided such a warm home for him for the week, and we had such a great time together.
He left you a warm bucket of piss.
He did leave me a warm bucket of piss. I was devastated. And I held off from doing that whole shaming on social media, and I just said, that's probably going to take away from the great memories and the great time we had that week. And I came back to San Francisco and I said, leave it, just leave any action for the moment and just think it over. And it turns out he came to us before we came to him, and he came to Crow and myself. You want to speak to Crow?
And pretty much was devastated. Was crying and was would fucking, was so guilt up about it that all I could do was go, well, won't fucking do that again, will you? And he was like, no. And so we welcomed him back with open arms. He is a workhorse. I mean, he always has been, and just is all round good guy. And it wasn't anything. It was just he'd probably party too hard and needed his lift to Reno, just like everybody else, straight away. But for the guy to come back and apologize, because we, like Natasha said, we held off from doing the thing of shame. We don't want to be like other camps. We want to give people a chance. And
nobody's perfect.
And nobody's perfect. So
We
I
all
think
fuck up.
we try and, like the hierarchy, we try and install our own principles similar to Burning Man principles and our morals of day-to-day life in reality. And we hope that rubs off on everyone. And we haven't had a bad fit, and we don't handpick people, but from the last couple of years, our camp is full of people that have been coming year after year, and like the guys were saying, we literally don't have room for any more people. And it's the symposium, there was a piece of information there this weekend that I learned that camps in the 200 mark are only 3% of the camps. So we're
really
the majority of camps in Burning Man are actually on the smaller size. But when you think about, when you look at the map, for instance, because the big camps are taking up most square footage, and you see the parties in San Francisco and stuff, it's the Pink Mammoth, it's the District, it's the Opulent Temple. So the big camps come to mind, and you think that there's more of us and there's more people in those camps than the rest. Camps. But it turns out that we are actually the minority. Most people are doing camps that are much smaller.
So I'm sorry, just so I understand here. So you're saying that like the camps that you just mentioned, for example, are smaller in numbers?
No, I'm just saying that over the total population of Burning Man and the number of people, according to the census, the majority of people are camping in much smaller camps.
Sure, yeah.
So we're a minority at 200.
The big camp, everyone's like, oh, I'm part of a big camp, and our numbers are 75 people. We were kind of like, oh fuck's sake, that would have been nice if that's a year off camp for us, that we can't even do 75, it's like 90. But so the census is a very interesting statistic that 3%, numbers of 175 and up, and we try and cap ours at 200.
So are you currently like turning people away who want to join?
Literally,
We haven't started this year.
Yeah, we haven't started. We kind of do it first come first served for the sign-ups for the camp, and when we get to around the 200 mark, we have to say sorry, which is really hard.
We only we fill up, so it is first come first serve, as Natasha said. So we don't vet people, or we don't filter out anyone. It's like whoever wants to camp with us, first in with if you've got cash on the dash, we'll take it, and you're in. So,
but as you're saying there, we still need the same bunches coming back every year. You know what I mean?
And we do always we always keep a few spots.
Different faces that you wouldn't.
We always keep a few spots for the late stragglers, because
SF people are very slow because they don't know until the week before if they're going.
Yeah, and then patties are pretty useless at stuff as well. So
we leave it to the last minute as well, like everything
you
else.
Get a feeling or a vibe that a certain person is coming, and that then eventually a week beforehand they'll tell you that they are. So we don't. It's a first come first serve, but we try and accommodate everyone that we can.
Yeah. The earlier you were describing that Celtic Chaos really began as a bar. And it's so funny. I haven't actually been to your bar. Wasn't even sure that you had one, because my perception of you was that you're one of the loudest sound camps on Playa. So I want to hear sort of how that transition happened.
Well, originally weren't.
That year is because the bar was
the last 2 years we became really loud because they definitely upped the amps on our sound system. The bar is actually been named after one of the guys in 2013 that did Electrician, and that's new too. But we always were a bar inside the castle as well. And then when Billy was doing Paddy Mirage, one of the 4 years, I remember running into Paddy Mirage, not knowing him at the time, and being like, of course there's an Irish bar. There's always an Irish bar in every city. So yeah, they've always been a bar.
Yeah, like that's all it ever was a small, simple thing with it. Because that's all we could afford to put together and build, you know what I mean? And something that you could...
It's all we knew, yeah.
Yeah.
We were
Build a bar and
Stick with what you know. Yeah.
throw out plenty of beer, free beer, the whole week of it. And that was all about good time, you know. And
We've definitely
we
always
just got
been a
bigger
bar.
on it.
And as we were mentioning there, we lost a very good friend of ours, Bertie, who was on the electrical with John and Fergal, and last year we named our bar after him, and it's called Bertie's Bar. Basically, it's a 20-foot shipping container with a hatch, and we serve lots of booze out of it. But yeah, Bertie will be in our hearts for a long time. Yeah, we'll never forget him. He's a good guy.
Yeah. Was there a discussion that started to happen about upping the sound and becoming more of a sound camp? Or has this been an accident? There's a bunch of finger pointing.
There was no accident. I can tell you that.
Just for all your listeners, everyone's pointing their fucking
It was
finger
never
at me.
It was slowly being sneaked in there. It happened overnight then out of the shot, you know.
Here's the clarification I have to give. I mean, because it's an impressive sound camp, and I mean it's
Very
humorous, yeah. But
impressive,
like that, I'm hearing like so much of the story is about the bar from your perspective, but like, you know, from like the stories you hear is like, oh yeah, Carl Cox spun on there, like all, you know, the big guys are looking to get on there because it is an impressive fucking sound camp. And I remember I've told the story I think a couple of times on the show. I was like around the corner at like I think Playa School a couple years ago, and then I would come around.
They were next door to us.
Yeah, and Incendia is a beautiful camp, like gorgeous camp, right? And then it was kind of like melodic, and you're kind of sitting there. It's like this beautiful environment. And then I would go around the corner to Celtic Chaos and just be assaulted with just this sound. I was like, all right, I'm fucking awake.
Oh, it'd be love waking you up is right. The whole idea of it.
Yeah, you know, when we were the Castle, and in 2013, we scraped together every penny we could to assemble that monstrosity, and we could only afford like a small sound system. But the good thing about the Castle was we had freaking walls, and we could contain our sound, so it wasn't, you know, dissipating out into deep playa. And so, well, I won't mention any names, but when a camp beside you next door is like, you know, got their brand new Function 1 sound system, and are kind of like laughing at us, and we're kind of, we held our own. We held our own to a Function 1 sound system with a couple of, you know, dual 18 subs and some tops, and it was great. But you know, as we said, like the Castle eventually it wasn't sustainable, and it was losing its magic, and you know, we were all tired of that, and we wanted to, you know, just move on and try other things and a little less work, and so I kind of told our crew that, you know, we take down the walls, we have to up the ante, as in like a $3,500 sound system is not going to cut it. You know, we have to go big, or, you know, again, go home. And so we have some incredible friends in Fort Worth, Texas, who have been doing shout out to Showtech and the crew. They've been doing sound out there for many years, and on the bigger camps, from Opulent Temple to Wide Ocean when they were a thing, and they've helped us. So I mean, they're incredible, and they do that for a living. They go out, they come up here for a loss. You know, it's not about the money, but you know. So we put up with those guys' help, and you know, we put up a 400,000 watt sound system, and it's dialed in. I mean, like, it's a quarterized system where the bass is not coming back in towards our camp, and so there's one sub after another sub which is pushing out that bass wave. And a lot of people who are audiophiles and stuff like that, you know, it's an impressive sound system.
It is an impressive sound system.
Of course, if you stand with your fucking head at the subs, it's gonna hurt. You know, we never recommend that.
We've seen people do that though.
Yeah. People dry their clothes.
I think that the scale of whether the sound is loud enough, Crow has a saying. He's like, I want to get a hard on with this sound.
This is good.
Yeah, I found myself literally taking a few steps away from the stage. I'm like, because it was facing towards Open Playa. I want to say the year that I was experiencing it.
Yeah, definitely. It would always face out to Deep Playa, and obviously, the closer you are, right there. But like it's a line array system, so it's a spread, and it's very very good range and spread on it. And like I said, our crew from Dallas, they know what they're doing with the Vertec line array, and it's a very impressive sound system.
Yeah.
And again, there's no point in having a really dialed in sound system. We try to curate the music, and we're not all about the big shot DJ. So we always like to give the up and coming young kids a shot to play their music, and so we try and curate the music as best we can to accommodate these young kids who just want to get a shot to play in a sound system like that, and make people dance, make people feel happy. But we always love it when Carl Cox comes on by and
come back.
Yeah, come on back now.
Come anytime, man.
But we're super blessed, and the DJs surrounding our camp, again, they're reoffenders, and they just love coming back and playing with us, and it's been great to have their support, and so yeah.
How do you decide that? Do you have a music curation team, music director?
We
who
have
does
a
that?
curation team. The other two guys part of that team are not here this evening, but it'll be myself and Dahi and Jordan, and we'll be adding a few more people there, and a very good friend of ours in Sydney, Australia, and a very renowned DJ himself, Alan Thomas, curates some of the music for us and has been very supportive over the years, and so those guys join our team.
Can you tell a little bit about the process? Like, are you just keeping an ear out for who's interesting? Are people reaching out to you?
We find that some people reach out to us, and word of mouth and word of hearing, if they haven't heard us by now. I mean, a DJ, you put up a giant sound system like that and it's fairly dialed in, sometimes they are going to walk by and go, hey, who do I need to talk to? And so we find that walk up, but
we had a lot this year.
we get inundated with kids that want to play, and so we have to sit down and curate and listen to the sound clouds, and we can't just keep producing the same people every year in the production. So we try and change it up every year, and try new things, and we're all about that and reinventing.
Can I say I think it's adorable that you keep saying these kids?
I do. Yeah. I do. I call them my kids. You don't know when they're coming home sometimes. We have to leave the lights on for them.
When they're hungry, they come home.
If they're hungry, they'll come home, and make sure we leave on the lights. Yeah.
Can I want to ask some stories about experiences that you've had with the camp. If you have any thoughts you've had on like what it would have been like to potentially camp with a different. Could you imagine camping with a different camp? Have you had sort of some those kind of like fluffy life epiphany experiences as a part of camp? I want to hear some stories. Did anybody have some fun ones? Everybody always has a couple in their back pocket they're waiting to share.
And record it forever? No.
Yeah, depends what kind of trouble we get for it, like, where you're going to send them down.
Could you have imagined that this camp could have been where it's at right now, and 19 years of burning?
No, honestly, no. I'm stunned with it. Like, I mean, I'm fucking think it's amazing what we've managed to put together. Like, and it was never. Swat was never the back of my head was this where it was going to be or anything like that. But it just, as I say, every year something that was added. We made something a little better. Something got a little bigger. More people got involved and more people wanted to get involved in it. And it's like everything, we just slowly got there, and here we are now today with what we have. And yeah, it's amazing every time we go back, like, and especially with me now, because I go up and I'm the one that's on the road bringing the stuff in and out. So we'll say Crow, most of the guys, once they go in, they're seeing it growing, but every time I go away for 12 hours, whatever it is, come back and you'll see a whole new thing every morning, or every night, or
It's never stopped being amazing.
No. That build week, to see the city grow every time.
Yeah.
You know, from that first Sunday before it starts to where there's nothing, you're one of the first trailers on the playa. You know, it's like the man that's been built and centre camp, nothing else on the playa. And then slowly next morning, Monday, you know, say Tuesday morning you wake up, you'll start noticing a whole lot of more stuff in there. Wednesday. Then, you know, it's just something else to watch that go on all the time. Just how fascinating, what amount of work people put into it to put together it's just stunning, like what people are capable of building and doing.
Does it feel like everything is starting a lot sooner than it used to?
Yeah, for definite.
It was like, I feel like this past year I was like, wow, it's Monday and it feels like it's like Thursday already.
Yeah. Like I remember first.
We used to only do like Wednesday, Thursday onwards, right? For the build. And then now, like last year we went Monday, was it?
Well, last year we were a little later. No,
We're trying to get them up.
last year we were later.
The
Like
year before, I think me and Barry O'Brien were up there maybe Sunday night into Monday, and then but it used to be always like Wednesday, Thursday. So I think we're definitely 2 or 3 days earlier than we used to be.
oh yeah, we are. We're getting in there earlier, but I remember there were a time when I used to be building different stuff way back. If you were open by the Tuesday of the week of Burning Man, you were doing good.
Yeah.
You're amazing. You know, you came in that weekend, you snapped up your thing, you know.
Monday anyways. Remember?
Yeah, but I mean, there were a lot of camps that way. It used to be. So you go back 10 years ago up there. On that Monday the day it opens, small crowd, like wasn't crazy. Usually it could be Wednesday. People, you know, for the whole long weekend they'll start building up. Now come Sunday, the whole thing is up and going for the whole week. It's a whole different.
Yeah.
You have to have your camp ready Sunday, you know, and open and ready to go. That's the way it has gone there.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a full-on week. Where when I first started going up there, it was just the long weekend. Really, you know. I mean, the place would be empty on a Tuesday or a Wednesday of the burn. You could camp nearly anywhere. There'd be loads of space.
Yeah.
Now you're not in there on Sunday. You're sitting at the back somewhere. You're out on your own. Like, there's no room. You know, everywhere is gone. It's crazy, you know.
Yeah.
And I see a huge, huge difference in over the years I've been going up there on how big it's got. And every time I come in on it, you got to go, wow, what the hell, like, you know, how big it's getting. But that's the way.
Have you amongst yourselves ever had conversations about the most unexpected thing that has come out of developing this camp in the way that you have?
We're still together.
You're still together.
I think one of the most unexpected things is all the romances. I'm sitting here with Rob in the room, who met his wife at Celtic Chaos. He was living in Australia at the time. Will you quit telling the end of my story before I say it?
Okay.
It's like you got Tourette's or something. Okay. Rob met his wife at Burning Man. He was living in Australia and she was living in San Francisco, and they met at Celtic Chaos, and then he ended up doing a long distance relationship with her and then moving to San Francisco and get married. And not only that, but we've had 3 actual weddings in the castle. And as a result of those weddings, we now have 2 burner babies. I want to shout out to baby Axel, who's in Sydney, Australia, and baby Indy, who's also in Sydney. Yeah, in Sydney. Anything else you want to say, Sharky?
Yeah. Any other stories you want to give away?
Yeah, it's your own stories.
One thing that hasn't come up, which was a really special year for us, was the cult of the cannon. If anyone remembers, we were pretty crazy in 2014 and we put a cannon on top of our DJ box that shot out 15 feet of flames.
50 feet.
50 feet?
It was a
Really?
50-foot wide fireball.
Yeah.
It was a 50-foot wide fireball that went about 100 feet.
Yeah.
Because it went
And
the
it
whole.
would singe your hair.
Yeah, and the noise out of it was.
The noise was more frightening than
But
anything.
there
I
was
mean, that
nothing.
bang out of it.
Oh
it
my
was
God.
Like definitely one of the best experiences I've ever had at Burning Man. Shooting that thing
cannon.
off. Yeah, because
Yeah.
you would
we
scare.
got to hit a big red button.
Yeah, there's a big one on top of it. But like we would do it like sporadically, randomly, and there'd be people out in the dance floor. Because the castle is like, let's say 70 square feet, or 70 feet by 70 feet, right? And everyone is out on the dance floor dancing away, and it's dark, so we would just go up there randomly,
and then you hit this red button.
Yeah.
But like it was just like, and it would scare the absolute piss out of everyone, and you would just see everyone go for the floor, like you know, they would just, and it was classic.
We did have it safety.
Yeah, had to do the safety.
We did have all the safety
Yeah, it was as
precautions
safe
and
as
fire extinguishers.
a 100, like a 50-foot fireball. going
We
100
toned that
yards.
down. That was just
As
in a
safe as it
test.
could have been done. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
But it's
Remember you and I sat over to see with his
Guys, come on. You're doing a podcast talking to the mic.
This is great. Yeah, no.
Okay,
this is
so-
great. This is like
This is-
one of my favorite Burning Man experiences. Is like, am I really allowed to do this right now? Like that's what you're describing.
Well, first of all, shout out to Owen from Texas who brought this crazy cannon to us, and so whenever we set it up, before we opened the doors of the castle, we wanted to make sure it was safe, and so we had it all figured out and ready to go. And myself and Billy, being the some of the co-founders and leads and the elders, we said that we would stand on top over the drawbridge where the dance platform was, approximately 70 feet away from the DJ box, and we were right in the line of fire, and so we were testing, how much trajectory we needed to not melt people's faces off. And so we went up there and pretty much looked at each other and kind of held hands, and Owen let this fireball rip, and it was the test one, and people just in our crew nearly wet themselves, and Natasha started to cry. I remember. I think I looked at Billy and his eyebrows had gone. Yeah, just for the record, Billy has no hair, but no,
Wait, why were you crying?
Just
Okay, so when the cannon goes off, I'm from Northern Ireland, right?
Yeah.
And Northern Ireland, the Troubles.
Northern Ireland.
And so it's got instinct when you see something goes off and it sounds like a bomb.
Yeah.
You drop to the ground and you start crying.
Oh my god!
Brutal honesty.
So brutal honesty. So we consoled.
I'm allowed to laugh at that. My family's from Iran. I lived during a war, so I get you.
So we consoled Natasha. And actually that was the test, and so we definitely we dialed it down and dialed up the trajectory and made it to a comfortable level, and had the fire art and safety team check us all out, but yeah, it was that was interesting and fun.
Great. That actually brings me to my next question. I wanted to. This is for everybody. Somebody at the door. This is for everybody. I know obviously what we've learned throughout this conversation is that it's a pretty international camp. There's a lot of people from different places. Many of you happen to be Irish, but not necessarily. I'm wondering if back home, wherever that may be, if you're hearing stories about what their impressions are of the fact that there is this big Irish camp at this crazy thing called Burning Man. Have you ever heard any stories from family and friends back home? People that are like, what is this nutty thing that people are going, oh, by the way, out there's a big Irish camp you can go join. You can go check it out. Yeah, tell them about your cousin.
We want to hear about your cousin.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is more to do with the fact that I work for Burning Man, and my cousin was out for the summer with his little friends visiting San Francisco, and when I mentioned Burning Man and the fact that I work there, the little friends said, so do you organise the orgies? Do you work for the orgies? And I was like, because that's all they had heard, was that this thing in the desert, potentially as orgies had happened at it. So my job consisted of coordinating the orgies. So I ran with it. And I was like, yeah, and orgy logistics.
So just when you're on about what people's perception at home is, a lot of people, especially when you talk about being an Irish camp and having an Irish bar in the playa, everybody just expects this like nothing much. But when you show them, you have to bust out the videos or link them to some of the videos or send them, and they see this like the castle that was, or the big sound system now between the dome up and like world class DJs playing, they kind of get a bit blown away by the whole thing and really kind of say, oh shit, you're not actually just a bunch of paddies going drinking in the desert.
But that too.
But that too.
I don't know, perhaps I'm projecting because I'm imagining if there was like an Iranian camp, there'd be countless people reaching out to me and asking, what's it like? I hear there's an Iranian camp, you know?
I definitely think that especially like even this year, we haven't even started doing our organizing for it, and they're already getting reached out by people like, oh, we heard from our friend, we have to camp with you, you know. So the Irish, it's definitely word of mouth and everything. But even in the city, I'll be out and I end up talking about it, and someone will be like, oh, you're Celtic Chaos? You guys saved my life. Like, I got lost and I came into the castle, or I came here and at least like met all these cool people and I chilled out for a while, you know.
The guy that lost his teeth one year. His pants, his teeth, the whole lot.
Well, yeah, you can't just say somebody lost their teeth and not tell the rest of the story.
I don't know the exact ins
He
and outs of that
was so
story.
it happened. Yeah, I was managing the Lost and Found after the burn had ended, and we collect all the lost and find. No, I managed the Lost and Found for various different reasons. Maybe if unclaimed items happen to be there, they might come home with me. But anyway, this guy got in contact, and he had basically lost about 10 different things, and he actually was a ranger, and he was so embarrassed. He was like, you can't tell anyone I'm a ranger. I can't go to the Burning Man Lost and Found because it's really, really irresponsible of me. I've lost my radio. I lost my pants. I lost my Spider-Man cell phone. I lost my teeth. He lost his shit. He absolutely lost his shit.
That's
and
what we
he's
do,
like,
yeah.
he says, I just remember coming into the castle thing. I went through this drawbridge. I remember the bar, and he's like, after that, nothing.
We said we have no idea what we're talking about. What drawbridge?
At which point a single tear of pride went down your cheek. Oh, that's great. Is there...
but we did have actually, what was it? One of our campers last year, I think she's Irish, she lost her passport.
Oh, yeah.
And remember, she lost everything.
Evelyn.
Yeah, Evelyn. She had everything in her bag, and she left it on like some random art car. So you probably know the story better than
Well, I know that. So, to the minute before she was about to leave the playa, thinking she was going to have to go to an embassy all the way back in San Francisco, when she was supposed to fly out of Reno back to Australia, this guy rocked in and literally had her passport for her right before she was leaving the playa.
Oh, wow.
So I'm gonna add something very interesting to this. So this chick is like, she's living in Australia. She's from Ireland, right? And she comes over for the burn. She's there for about 3 or 4 days, and a random conversation starts, and turns out she is from my little village where I come from.
Wow.
Like, and I immigrated 20 years ago, and she is from the village where I come from, like back home, but she immigrated to Australia and she landed here. And yeah, she lost all her shit, and someone came to camp to return it and would only return it to her. And we were like, listen, hang out, you know, she's just gone to the restroom, she'll be back. And then she got, you know, she was devastated, she lost all this stuff. And then the guy said, you know, this is your stuff. And it was, that chick just like hugged and kissed him. And it was, an amazing thing that, you know, people are honest and return stuff. And it's so good. Like, people lose their cell phones out there, and somehow they manage to get them back at the end, you know. So it's there's a good community out there.
Yeah.
If we contribute in small ways.
All right. Last couple of questions here. There is a regional in Ireland, right?
It's called Smoke and Crack.
Smoke and Crack.
Yeah, I think it's probably one of the most funniest, unique names for a regional event.
Hold on, why is it called Smoking Crack?
Because
Smoke and Crack. Okay.
crack is spelled CRAIC, as in fun, not the drug.
It's the Irish word
and
for good time.
It's the Irish word for fun.
Good, and and they're just playing on the word, and it happens. in Ireland once a year, and it's the Irish Decompression, which is the regional event, and it happens in a castle as well, because Ireland's full of castles, and it's an all-night party. And Crow has been there. If you want to speak to the Irish
We have
event.
one for sale.
Slightly used.
Slightly used.
Tell them about the Irish
Yeah.
Decompression.
Tell us about
I 2012, I was lucky to. 2012, I wasn't part of a camp. I was a part of David Best's build on the temple, and I've done some big art out there, and particularly like working with David Best and the temple crew. But after that burn, I went home, and before we came back to the city, October, we had the decompression here in San Francisco, and then my brother was getting married that year, and I flew home for the wedding, and it just so happened it coincided that the Irish Decompression was on as well. So it's happened that I got the burn in the, Black Rock City, and then I got decompression here in San Francisco, and then I got decompression in Ireland. But I said to the guys
I
over
was
there,
at that with Crows on.
you were?
Yeah.
Oh, well, we did not know each other then.
Were you wearing your yellow jumper?
Yeah, so I reached out to the guys there, and I said, hey, I'm part of Celtic Chaos, and they're like, oh, really? Can we, can I help and contribute to your, decompression and what have you? And then they said, yeah, we'd love to have you. Can you chop wood? And I was like, ended up brought my dad, and he's like, what's this all about? And I'm like, well, you know what I'm telling you about what I do in the desert? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, do you have your chainsaw? So, let's go meet some of these people. And so my dad, he came with me, and we worked for the day. We cut up stuff for their fire pits, and it was cool event, and big shout out to all those guys. Yeah, they're still doing it.
Charleville Castle, right?
Charleville Castle in Tullamore, which is 7 miles.
Legitimately haunted, apparently.
Yeah, legitimately haunted.
And at that night, there was like, well, I mean,
Ghost sightings.
Probably not the most credible.
Not the most credible. I'd say they've seen lots of stuff.
Some people saw some weird stuff that night that can't be explained. But no, it's badass. It's a cool castle, legitimately. And they had it like had the run of it like on the inside of the building and everything. You could get all the rooms set up, and
you could go explore, and then they had like various rooms and dungeons all set up, and music
like a
and
costume room and all that sort of stuff, didn't they?
Orgy room.
Orgy room, yes. Orgy rooms. But
Joe's got a story about that one.
The bar was packed.
I want to know what's next for Celtic Chaos. Do you guys have plans in the next couple of years? What's going on? What should we expect? More sound, yeah. Good, because there wasn't enough.
More speakers there.
Well, I'm at the moment like not really totally involved in Celtic Chaos. I'm still like overseeing things with the group, but I'm just going to speak, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. I think Celtic Chaos is just going to continue to go from strength to strength. The boys talked about it earlier. What's special about us is that we continue to evolve and change, and it's not going to be a camp that's going to be stagnant. Every 2 or 3 years the theme changes, and I think it's going to get bigger, better, and who knows what's around the corner. We went from Castle to Enchanted Kingdom to, I think this year, without giving too much away, there's going to be a Game of Thrones kind of vibe. So it's going to be special, and there's going to be something different every year to look out for.
We're
metamorphosing.
We're metamorphosing.
There's going to be some beheadings. That's nice.
Like the interesting thing about Celtic Chaos is that the core, a lot of the guys and girls that are involved with it are in like construction, and we like to build stuff, and we're a pretty small group. Really, I think the first year I went, there was maybe like 8 people on the build, and maybe 10 or 15 of us that are here most of the time. But we want to build stuff, and whether it's like changing out the camp or doing like art projects, and as Crow said, like Crow and a few of the guys have helped out on, and like when I say helped, like really helped out in a lot of the like temple builds, and Anthony here and Crow did the worked really well involved with the Catacombs of Wales that year. 2 years ago, a few of us helped the guys out and built the whole platform for that tree of Tenere. So we're always involved with like either other art projects or our own ones, and now we've started to build out other stuff, and you're going to see like a bunch of new pieces come from us, and the sound stage is going to get bigger. And if anyone out there is interested in getting involved with us, we're hiring.
The pay is crap.
The pay is bad, but at least
is 90.
But the hours are long and the crack is 90.
Yeah.
And
the Tecate flows.
Oh, the Tecate flows.
Tecate flows even at the build.
It's
Pre, after.
flowing,
Yeah, we have Tecates going since 2013.
Yeah.
So we're always looking to add more people to the group here, and we're pretty easygoing. So if anyone out there wants to get involved, whether you're a tradesman or a accountant or admin person, or you're a designer or whatever you're into, we have a pretty, it's a pretty big operation that we put together every year.
Right. Somewhere for you to work.
Oh yeah, we find somewhere for you. And if not, Billy has a few jobs going on around the city there. He's always looking for a few lads.
How do you get involved, and especially since you described earlier that you're having to cap at 200, so people need to get in there ASAP?
Facebook is kind of our main communication channel, and Natasha used to always run that really, really well. We still really do everything. We have Nicole now takes care of Facebook and a few other people, and that's a kind of the main.
So message you through Facebook.
Through Facebook is always a good way. We have an email as well, which is
CelticChaosCommunity@gmail.com.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
we need really strong, feisty women to keep all these guys in check. It is Celtic Chaos, and
keep
unfortunately, you do need a bit of organisation amongst the chaos. So anyone that can keep these lads in check is definitely.
We like to build and spend money.
Yeah, we like to build some. We like to have fun and party, but anyone that's come to see our camp, you'll see the infrastructure and you'll see the organisation behind it. Like, it's a pretty well-oiled machine at this point.
It's organised chaos.
It is organised chaos.
It's organised chaos, and it's like herding cats some days.
Yeah.
Chaos is a lot.
It's chaos.
But it takes a lot of people to do it, and there's a lot of stuff, and people always get enjoyment out of it, whether it's whatever your skill set is. You can be sure
we won't turn them away from the door.
We'll use it. So the door is always open to anybody.
All right. The drawbridge is always open.
The drawbridge is sometimes open.
It's hard to close it. It's hard to close it. It takes 3 people.
Yeah.
You went through the spinning vortex wheel, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Oh, good. Guys, thank you so very much for sitting with me. Thank you so much for bringing the gift of this amazing camp to Burning Man. Thank you for all the hard work that you do. Thank you for 19 years of it, apparently. Yeah. Holy shit. Yeah.
It scares me, don't worry.
Thank you, all of you. I'm really, really looking forward to spending more time there this year and actually coming to the bar rather than, just being assaulted by the sound. You guys are wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You are now listening to the sounds of San Francisco-based N2N. Camp lead Steven said that he remembers this set being so long that he served N2N alcohol, and then coffee, and then breakfast, and then more alcohol. This full set, of course, 4 hours of this set is on SoundCloud. I don't know if you can get the entire 8 hours anywhere, but you can find this and all of other N2N's links over at n2nmusic.com. That's spelled the number 2. I'm sorry, that's the letter N, the number 2, the letter N, music.com. Please give us a like on Facebook and join the Facebook group, and leave us a review on iTunes. The reviews do help the show grow and gain more support. All these links are over at burnerpodcast.com, along with other shows and content such as Burner Podcast Presents Alkaline, Into the Fire, Music.bm, and so much more. You can find me on all these social medias at Mr. Arash. That's MRARASH. If you're sending a friend request, please do shoot me a message so I know that you're not a spam bot. And do let me know if you have interesting interview subjects in your area. Like I said in the beginning, I might come your way. Our producers are Lee Hemingway and Louis Galipeau, with additional support by Tori Massey and Najit Sarna. The show is available on pretty much all the podcast platforms and is updated a couple of times a month. If it's not on the one you really want, let us know. Our opening theme music, America's Horse with No Name Remix, is produced by Joe Man. Find him over at soundcloud.com/DJ Joeman. Until next time, love and light and all that other crap. Take us back to the playa, end to end.
Just can't be wrong. If you only knew the way I feel about you, I just can't describe it. Oh no, no, finally it has happened to me, right in front of my face. My feelings can't I've been told. Music make you lose control. Work your body to the beat. Body work will set you free. I don't know what I've been told. Music make you lose control. Work your body to the beat. Body work will set you free. I don't know what I've been told. Music make you lose control. Work your body to the beat. Body work will set you free. Sound off, 1, 2, sound off, 3, 4. Bring 'em down, 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 bring 'em down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know what I've been told. Music make you lose control. Work your body to the beat. Body work will set you free. Body work will set you free.
I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Ooh, I am for real.
Go like this. 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 Go like this.
I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Ooh, I am for real.
Go like this. 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 Go like this.
Let me tell you about a little situation. It's been testing my patience, man. She was keeping me up all night. Cause you only get so far reading faces. We were off to the races, and I thought to myself, hold tight. You see, there was just this one complication. She was already taken, and what was so wrong felt so right. She said, no need to be looking over your shoulder when you could just come over and we could work this out just fine. I don't know what you want from me. So careless in my company. Oh, if all that you say is true, there'll be no getting over you. Slow me down playing by your rules. If you're a joker, then I'm a fool. I guess there's no catching up to you. If you don't want my affection, don't lie, you tear me up. 'Cause you've got all my attention. I won't lie, you tear me up. And I'm trying to tell your intention. When you lie, you tear me up. If you don't want my affection, you won't mind, tear me up. It all started with a simple conversation. It was on the making, man. She was talking me up all night. Kept asking if I was only faking. She was there for the taking, showing me that she was on mine. She told me she lived just around the corner. I wanted to know her, yeah, she was making me lose my mind. I didn't know quite what I was chasing. She had my heart racing, and all it took was just one night. guess there's no catching up to you. If you don't want my affection, don't lie, you're tearing me up. 'Cause you've got all my attention, I won't lie, you're tearing me up. And I'm trying to tell your intention, when you lie, you're tearing me up. If you don't want my affection, you won't mind tearing me up.
and pull me close to you. Touch my mind and my body. Hey, can't you hear the way I'm breathing? Good loving, your good loving, I know. Oh, it's all that I've been needing. You bring out the woman in me, yeah. Oh, the way I'm wanting you, the way I'm needing you. You've got the power over me. All my mind belongs to you. All my body belongs to you. Come on, baby, 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 come on, baby. Oh, let me. Come on and do what you wanna do. Touch my mind and my body. Hey, can't you hear the way I'm breathing? Good loving, your good loving, I know. Oh, it's all that I've been needing. You bring out the woman in me, yeah. You've got the power over me. You've got the power over me. All my mind belongs to you. All my body belongs to you. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Oh, love me.
stop on the street. She said, hello, hey Joe, you wanna give it a go? Oh, gitchy, yeah, yeah, da, da. Gitchy, yeah, yeah, here, yeah. Mocha chocolate, yeah, yeah. Real lady marmalade. Ouais, voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir? Voulez-vous coucher avec moi? Voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir? Voulez-vous coucher avec moi? Voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir? Voulez-vous coucher avec moi? Voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir? Voulez-vous coucher avec moi? Marmalade down in old New Orleans, striding her stuff on the street. She said, hello, hey Joe, you wanna give it a go? Oh, gitchy, yeah, yeah, da, da. Gitchy, yeah, yeah, here, yeah. Mocha chocolate, yeah, yeah. Real lady marmalade. Voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir? Voulez-vous coucher avec moi? Voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir? Voulez-vous coucher avec moi? Voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir? Voulez-vous coucher avec moi? Voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir? Voulez-vous coucher avec moi? Voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir? Voulez-vous coucher avec moi?
going crazy. I don't know if I'm gonna make it. When the streets are burning and the world keeps turning, there's nothing that I can hold on to. Just give me something, babe. Feel like I'm going crazy. I don't know if I'm gonna make it. When the streets are burning and the world keeps turning, there's nothing that I can hold on to. peace of mind. 'Cause I gotta make it through another day. In these changing times, mountains to climb. But somehow I gotta find a way. Been a long
When a fire starts to burn, right, and it starts to spread, she gonna bring that attitude home. You don't wanna do nothing with they life. When a fire starts to burn, right, and it starts to spread, she gonna bring that attitude home. You don't wanna do nothing with they life. When a fire starts to burn, right, and it starts to spread, she gonna bring that attitude home. You don't wanna do nothing with they life. When a fire starts to burn, right, and it starts to spread, she gonna bring that attitude home. You don't wanna do nothing with they life. 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 They lie. 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 They when a fire starts to burn, right, and it starts to spread, she gonna bring that attitude home. You don't wanna do nothing with they life. When a fire starts to burn, right, and it starts to spread, she gonna bring that attitude home. You don't wanna do nothing with they life. When a fire starts to burn, right, and it starts to spread, she gonna bring that attitude home. You don't wanna do nothing with they life. When a fire starts to burn, right, and it starts to spread, she gonna bring that attitude home. You don't wanna do nothing with they life. When a fire starts to burn, right, and it starts to spread, she gonna bring that attitude home. You don't wanna do nothing with they life.
taller. I wish I was a baller. I wish I had a girl who looked good, I would call her. Wish I had a rabbit in a hat with a bat and a 6'4" parlor. I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. I wish I had a girl who looked good, I would call her. Wish I had a rabbit in a hat with a bat and a 6'4" parlor. Wish I was a little bit taller, y'all. Wish I was a baller. Wish I was a little bit taller, y'all. Wish I was a baller. Wish I was a little bit taller, y'all. Wish I was a baller, baller, baller. That fresh. Now everybody wants to get down like that.
I have to celebrate you, baby. I have to praise you like I should. I have to celebrate you, baby. I have to praise you like I should. We've come a long, long way together, through the hard times and the good. I have to celebrate you, baby. I have to praise you like I should. There's too many of you crying. Brother, 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 there's far too many of you dying. You know we've got to find a way to bring some loving here today. Yeah, Father, Father, we don't need to escalate. War is not the answer, for only love can conquer hate. You know we've got to find a way to bring some love in here I'm on top. Mother, mother, everybody thinks we're wrong. Oh, but who are they to judge us? Simply cause our hair is long. Oh, you know we've got to find a way. Bring some understanding here today. Oh, picket lines and picket signs. Don't punish me with brutality. I'm on top. 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 War is not the answer, for only love can conquer hate. You know we've got to find a way to bring some love in here today.
burnerpodcast.com.